Allow me to set the stage. A massive black screen stands in front of a large TEDx audience. Robert Fogarty walks out with an ode to Bob Dylan's opening sequence of Don't Look Back. You know, the scene where Dylan holds up cue cards with the lyrics of Subterranean Homesick Blues as his distinct voice sings in the background of his strong, postured body and closed mouth.
John is in the basement mixing up the medicine. I'm on the pavement thinking about the...
He stands there, silently and strong, as his photographs play on the large screen to his right. The audience stares at the photographs on the screen. It's clear that some of them are being moved to tears. This was the scene of a TEDx presentation of Robert's for-profit social venture, Dear World, an enterprise he launched at the 2011 Harvard Social Enterprise Conference. Robert started Dear World, an extension of Dear New Orleans, a for-profit photography venture for social good. Robert has photographed thousands, including Super Bowl's most valuable player, Drew Brees, Academy Award winner Susan Sarandon, and NBA All-Star Chris Paul. It's been described as an ongoing social collection of inspired portraits. All of Robert's subjects pose in front of a black backdrop with messages written on their skin. These messages began as what Robert has proclaimed, love notes for New Orleans. He began Dear World as a way to help finance his nonprofit, Evacuteer. Evacuteer seeks to evacuate carless citizens of New Orleans in the event of a hurricane. In a 2005 Harvard University study of evacuees who remained in New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina, 55% stated that the reason they did not evacuate prior to the storm was that they did not have a vehicle or another method to evacuate. That same survey resulted in 42% of the evacuees stating that they did not think that they could have found a way to leave the city. This was unacceptable to Robert. In 2008, Robert was working for the mayor's office when Hurricane Gustav began its most ominous direction, heading right for the most vulnerable city in America. Robert was in charge of evacuating tens of thousands of people. He had an idea to recruit community leaders, the guys that people from these neighborhoods know and trust. Robert had 219 volunteers help evacuate 18,000 people. It was the largest hurricane evacuation in the United States history. Through founding his organization, Robert was able to speak up on the failures and inefficiencies of New Orleans emergency management. Robert was innovative in his approach. He, for example, questioned the effectiveness of the small, unseen government signs placed around the city as meeting points for evacuees to be picked up. He saw these signs as an opportunity for something efficient and something great. He thought, let's make it something big and beautiful, and decided that those meeting points, instead of being small, unseen signs, should be great big public art pieces. The creativity that is responsible for turning government signage into street art is what allowed for the creation of not just one, but two social ventures. So first of all, I want to so appreciate you for taking the time to do this interview. Thank you. So I want to start with some questions, if that's all right with you.
Sure thing.
I think that you may be the youngest of all the social entrepreneurs being interviewed for these podcasts. Do you feel that your age has helped you with your endeavors, or do you think it's hurt you in any way?
As I get old, now I'm kind of been here 4.5 years. I've always played the kind of young kid card. So I think it kind of helps you a little bit to be high energy and maybe perhaps a little out there. And I can't really play the kid card anymore because there's a lot of responsibility. But I think if you can kind of maintain your youthful energy, perhaps the things that come a little easier with some time under your belt will be even easier.
Do you feel a responsibility to your subjects that you photograph with the stories that they want to tell or that you're helping them tell?
Well, I tell 3 stories. Cancer Free is the one that comes to me first, and that's, this guy who wrote, it was at just a random event, and it was pre-Dear World officially launching. That was one where, he was crying, and I was I was really scared to, be in this really intimate moment with these two people and taking their photo, and I was like, God, I hope I don't mess this up. And then I'm going to college, which is a kid named Daryl Scott, who just has this beautiful smile and symbolizes everything that's right in the world. And then last is a friend of mine named Masato Iijima, who survived the earthquake in Japan, who's married to an American guy, and she wrote "It's Okay" on her body, and it was kind of the last lines of a speech she gave to some Japanese Americans who were supporting the relief efforts in DC. And she said, like, with the support that we have here today, I know there's going to be a time where it's okay back home. Those are the three that stand out. There's many, many more.
You were largely responsible for the largest hurricane evacuation in the United States history. And because of that, you were featured on CNN. You were or have been a keynote speaker at Harvard's Social Enterprise Conference. You are a featured participant at Clinton Global Initiatives, and you have taken pictures of all kinds of wonderfully famous people, Drew Brees and Chris Paul, Susan Sarandon and James Carville. What has been the highlight of all of these successes thus far in your career as a social entrepreneur?
You know what I'm most proud of, Amy, is there's a lot of ways to say no, There's a lot of ways to tell yourself why it's too hard or too ridiculous. And there's nothing specific, but certainly feel good about at least going down the road of where people probably have said that's like a really stupid idea. And then just going through the exercise of pursuing something that you think perhaps has some potential, even if others don't readily see it. Because I didn't know if I really had that in me, Good question, but I think that's what I'm most proud of. It's really easy for people to say no and move on. And sometimes you just have to say yes, or find the people who say yes.
I think that one of the neatest aspects of the emerging field of social enterprise is the network of social entrepreneurs who seem to be such a collaborative group. What are some of your favorite social enterprises that are out there right now? And is Evacueteer and Dear World collaborating with any of them?
Great question. So I just met Scott Harrison from Charity Water. He's an inspiration of mine. He sat for a portrait. I think he's incredible. I think the guys at Warby Parker, I met the CEO of Warby Parker as well, who's the eyeglass. They do 1-for-1 eyeglass.
Yeah.
Eyewear.
In New York, right?
New York. So I hung out with him last week. I'm just now starting to be in those conversations with those kind of guys. There are some really awesome people who are rethinking, what it means to build business. I usually just feel like the random misfit in the room.
A misfit or not, you have had numerous experiences in being a social entrepreneur. What have been the most valuable lessons that you've received? Could you share one or two with us?
There's always going to be tough times, and you're going to need to have an inner circle who you can lean on. And I feel like I have that, and I'm really lucky to have that.
Thank you, Rob. It's been awesome talking to you. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think that you're making a real impact in the social enterprise world, and we are all looking forward to your future innovations. Why should this guy, Robert Fogarty, be our star social entrepreneur? Because, like he said...
Good question, but I think that's what I'm most proud of. It's really easy for people to say no and move on. And sometimes you just have to say yes, or find the people who say yes.
Maybe this time we are the ones to say yes.